Hey book lover, how are you? As I promised, I am trying my best to post your favorite session creators conversation more frequently. Today we have a very special guest from whom we will learn many things about writing and life. So her name is Jenni Lorraine, and she works as a developmental editor, publishing coach, and ghostwriter, while also working on her own independent projects like Sourwood Mountain series. It's a trilogy focusing on a new small mountain town murder mystery. So we learn more about this series from Jenny herself. So without wasting each other's time, let's start our conversation. Welcome to the show, Jenny. How are you?
Hi, I am actually very happy to be here, very happy to be on the show, and glad you're taking your time out. So thanks for that.
Before we start, let me tell you that this is not a typical interview. Okay, this is just a casual conversational session. So you can feel free to say anything you want. I would like to start from the ghostwriting part of your writing journey. I have lots of curiosity about ghostwriting. So a writer is like a parent of the creation. So how does it feel when you hand over your works to someone, knowing the fact that your name will be detached from that creation?
Yeah, I actually worked 13 years in the ghostwriting industry. I worked for a number of authors, several that have done quite well. And, you know, the stories are always theirs. They give you the storyline, they give you the characters, they give you the message that they're trying to convey, and then you take it from there and deliver a fully fleshed out story. So while it was sometimes a little bit oh, bittersweet, I guess, to see them do well because you would be happy they did well, but at the same time, you would think, yeah, I did that work. I should be getting some credit. The agreement is always, from the very beginning that um, it's always theirs and you're just helping them achieve the story and develop the story. I've always kind of thought of it as sort of a surrogacy. Um, it's their baby. I'm just carrying it for a little while. And so that has always helped um, sort of tackle any jealousy or any um, regret about selling my services in that regard. But it also really did help me because it has given me a boost of confidence. I know that I am, you know, able to write a good story. And I have this encouragement. They've all actually been wonderful, wonderful supporters in me finally venturing out and starting my own series. So, it's worked out really well.
How did your writing journey start, and when did you feel that you can't live without writing?
I've always been a storyteller. When I was little, I think the very first time I remember like actually making stories up was laying in bed in my shared bedroom with my little sister, and she would always have a little bit of trouble sleeping, and she would say, "Hey Jenny, tell me a legend." That's how she always asked. She never asked for a story. She always asked for a legend. And so I would just make something up. It would be something really silly, like chickens didn't used to have feathers, but then one day one got stuck in a honeycomb and then it flew through a pillow, and now all chickens have feathers. And, from a 6 or 7 year old's perspective, that's a really good story. And it's especially good to the little 4 or 5 year old baby sister. So, yeah, so it went from there and it evolved into making these little books that I would write on notebook paper and then staple together and give to my mother. She had a whole box of them. stashed away when she passed away. And that is really, I think, what inspired me to pick up writing again, because she was always very supportive of my writing. When I was in high school, I had an editorial in the school newspaper, and she always said, Jenny, you're going to be a writer when you grow up. And I had other ideas for a while, and then, it kind of went back and forth between, do I want to write? Do I want to, do this? And I actually got my degree in elementary education. And so I was teaching, and then picked up an education beat in a local paper. And then um, life kind of got crazy, and I decided I'd better be home with the kids for a while. And that's when I first got into ghostwriting. And things have just evolved sort of naturally from there to where I am today.
So you worked 13 years with a well-known figure in the romance genre. So did you ghostwrite there or manage other parts of publishing like editing, designing, etc.?
Well, of course, anytime you do ghostwriting, there's a non disclosure agreement. So I'm pretty limited on the details I can provide. But I will say that it was through my working relationship with him that I came to learn about the publishing world, and I came to learn about my own skills and my abilities to make decisions in regard to publishing. And I would not change anything about that partnership. I am very glad that I met him, and he has been a very strong and positive force in my life.
Let's go to the early stage of your life, becoming a mother of two girls and getting divorced at a very early age. How did it impact in your mental health? What was the inner voice which helped you to move on from that phase? Did somehow writing help you in the recovery process?
Oh, you are digging deep. Yeah, I married right out of high school and divorced about a year after I married him. Um, Officially divorced. We'd been separated back and forth a time or two. Um, and yeah, I was a mother to both of my daughters very young as well. So really, I did not partake in, the wild partying of college, or even just coming into my own as a young woman. I went from being a kid to being a mom pretty much overnight. And one of the first big things I had to tackle in adulthood was navigating myself out of this abusive and traumatic relationship. And one of the ways I did that was through writing. I wrote a lot of poetry back then about my feelings and the way I was um, seeing the world and seeing myself. And I can remember one of the things he would always say is, you know, I don't know why you bother, because you're not going to make it. Um, I would write poems and submit them to different places, or I would write articles and submit them to different publications, and he would always say, you're not going to sell your work, you're not that good, you know. And that was his way of kind of keeping me down. But at the time, I didn't realize that. I thought, he was being a partner to me, and he was trying to keep me from getting my hopes up because he cared about me. And it was a really warped, skewed sense of reality that he left me with. And it was through my writing that I was eventually able, because I really have, when you write, you have to think about what you're saying, right? You can't just say it. And so every word, even coming from yourself, you're taking a close view of, you're examining, and you're really processing. And I couldn't afford mental health help. I couldn't afford counseling. I couldn't afford anything. I was this mom of these little kids. And so, um, yeah, that's how it all sort of unfurled for me. Is I I used my writing, and I really had to think about it, and then I really started looking at it, um, from an outside perspective, and I began recognizing this is not something I would allow my friend or my sister or even some stranger on the street to believe about themselves. So why am I allowing myself to believe it? And that's really when I started stepping out of that and into who I would become in life.
Now, what do you feel about the relationships we make in our lives? Your story touched my soul, and I think there are so many things to learn from you.
I am a firm believer that every person we meet in our life brings a piece of our story to the table. Um, and sometimes it's a really good piece, and sometimes it's a really bad piece. But when they all come together, it's one big picture. And um, it doesn't mean everybody you meet in life is going to be important to you. It doesn't mean everybody who does something profound in your life is going to be somebody you're close with. Some of my most profound interactions in life have been with strangers. Um, and I think that's true for all of us if we really stop and think about it. And it's not that I'm a people person. I am definitely shy and an introvert, and I don't have a whole lot of people in my social realm, but the ones that are there are all very important to me, and they've all done something wonderful for my story. And um, I hope that I contribute to theirs the same.
There is a famous saying, the middle child is the one who makes everything okay, puts their own needs aside to make sure everybody is happy. So, what is the impact of your middle child side on your writing?
um, I am a middle daughter. I have one older sister, one younger sister, and I do have some half siblings that are older, but they were out of the house before me and my two sisters were, you know, coming up. But I don't think that I'm necessarily the one who put my needs aside to make everybody happy. I think as a child, I was definitely the hardest to get along with. Um, I was keenly aware that um, my older sister was sort of, the family genius, and my baby sister was this sassy, adorable, cutesy little kid, and I had kind of got the short end of the stick. Um, but it was an arrangement I was happy with. I definitely did my fair share of demanding my own attention. Um, but I also feel like it gave me sort of a quiet introspective side where I'm able to look into myself and say, you're acting like a butthead right now, um, and I had the support of an older sister, and then I also had a little sister who was looking up to me. So, um, you know, it wasn't all in all a bad gig. But um, as adults, I definitely do think, you know, and it's not necessarily because of birth order, I don't think, but just because of life, I have become sort of the quiet mom figure of the bunch. My two sisters are still in their adventurous, um, you know, free spirited phase of life, and I've got kids in college, so um, that's an interesting question. I don't know that it's impacted my writing much, but it has definitely shaped me as a person.
Do you have any specific time to write, like mornings, nights?
Usually mornings are the quietest for me because my husband is at work and my kids are at class, and so yeah, that has kind of become my time to write. I get up in the morning, take a shower, get my tea, let the dogs out, and then I sit in my office and write until I'm sick of it. Um, and that's kind of how my day goes. And then from there, I go about my other duties of life, my cleaning, my cooking. Sometimes I'll circle back around and do more writing. My days are pretty quiet, pretty isolated, except for my pets. I do have two dogs and a couple cats and some fish to keep me company and a bird. I call them my coworkers. um, um, but yeah, uh, I don't do a whole lot of writing at night. I feel like by the time the day's over, my mind's gone. So I hit it every morning with a fresh outlook on the world.
Tell us about your trilogy, Sourwood Mountain series. I think you have some special attachments to this series.
Okay, the trilogy is actually called Tess. The Sourwood Mountain series is like this greater um, title given to several trilogies that will be coming out over time. Tess is written from the perspective of a little girl who has had some hard knocks in life, and as a result, she's kind of absorbed herself into this fantasy world where all of these monsters from folklore really do exist, and their habitat is the forest behind her house. And so, in an attempt to uh, persuade the adults of the community that these monsters are real, she and her little ragtag bicycle gang get together and decide they're going to investigate these woods, and they're going to keep a logbook of their findings, and they're real serious about it. And unfortunately, in their search, they come across the skeletal remains of a young woman. And of course, they tell their parents, and then the police get involved, and um, it leads to this full fledged investigation in this tiny rural community. And once the woman is identified, of course, there's a list of suspects, but they all have alibis, and nothing's really working out as far as the investigation goes. So the sheriff turns to Tessie and her friends and says, "Hey, let me see the clues you found for your monster hunt, and I will tell you some things I know about monster hunts." And so it becomes this almost like a game between the sheriff and the kids um, to solve this murder and also prove the existence of monsters. And of course, really both are working toward um, the same goal, you know, that monsters aren't always creatures. Sometimes they're us. Um, and that is mainly the whole gist of the book. That's what it's about. When it's actually a series of books, it's three different books. But, there's a lot of things that go on and a lot of twists and turns that are to be discovered in reading the trilogy. It was a lot of fun to write, a lot of fun to plot out. I actually ran it by two different homicide detectives while I was writing it, and got their point of view and their perspective. And they were like, yeah, change this, or, maybe drop this in here. So it's about as realistic as I can make it. So people who are fans of true crime should enjoy it, and people that are just fans of storytelling will like it too. Um, the attachment to the series is more um, just that it's something I've been working on a long time, and that Tessie is inspired by my daughters. A lot of their personality quirks and who they are come out in her, and yeah, a lot of the folklore, of course, too, is interesting, and I spent a lot of time researching folklore, and of course, some of it, being a 10-year-old, she's going to change some definitions a little bit here or there, but yeah, um, it was just a lot of fun to absorb myself into this character and tell this awful story from sort of a lighthearted perspective.
How long did it take to write this series?
From plotting to the interviews with the detectives, and then writing out the story, planning everything that has gone into it. It's been oh uh, 7 or 8 years in the making. It really did kind of take over a big part of my life for a while, and so I'm very excited and very hopeful that others will enjoy it. as much as I have enjoyed putting it together.
What are you currently working on, and what are your upcoming projects?
I have begun work on the second trilogy in the Sourwood Mountain series. I don't really want to give away too much just yet, but um, yeah, new set of characters, new time, new place, and it's been a lot of fun.
To keep the creative fluids flowing, an author needs to read books. So, what is the latest book you read?
I read The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. It's a really great story, kind of a slow burn, uh, and it really fed into my my need for character development and my desire to see how people behave and what makes people behave a certain way. So anybody that's a fan of understanding people should definitely check out The Dutch House.
Any contemporary authors you follow?
Oh, Anne Patchett, of course, just mentioned her. Also, Daniel Woodrell. Um, I really enjoyed his book, The Death of Sweet Mister, and Percival Everett, If I Need a Laugh. Erasure is really good for anyone that wants to think while they laugh. Um, and Pamela Aarons is really great at character development and all those things I love. Understory was wonderful. I really enjoyed that.
You also have a Patreon page. What kind of content do you post there?
Yes, actually, my Patreon subscribers have early access to my book. Um, I post a chapter a week and a few little extras here or there. And it's $2 a month if they want just the early access to the digital version of the books, or $5 a month and they can get early access to the digital version plus a hard copy when the hard copy releases. So it's just a fun way to release the book a little bit early and give people a little sneak peek at what it is and get the conversation started.
I will put the Patreon link so that the listeners of our conversation can go and find you there. Let me ask you another question. What is your biggest fear in life?
Oh, I'm a mother, so of course my biggest fear in life is that my kids will um, not make it, or they'll get hurt or something terrible will happen to them. I've always said I'm fine as long as my kids are fine, and that's not going to change, I don't think, no matter how old they get.
Now I'm going to ask you three questions which are very popular among the readers of kmgreads. These three questions are like rituals. I have to ask these three questions to all the guests of Creators Conversations. So the first question is, Nikita Gill, a famous poet on social media, once said in an interview, 8 billion people are living their life in 8 billion ways. So, what is your way of living life?
I try to live a quiet life, and I try to make everyone else's life a little bit easier for having known me. Make everybody happy, uh, treat everyone well, and if you see a need you can fill, then go fill it.
Tell us a secret of your life that you have not shared with anybody.
I am a chronic oversharer, so I really don't think there's a whole lot I haven't shared with at least one person. You know, uh, I've never been drunk in a bar. Oh, it's so lame, but it's true. I've never been drunk in a bar. That kind of tends to shock people.
There are so many readers of my blog who want to become full time writers. So, what will be your message to them?
Know your worth. Um, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to hire writers for you know peanuts, and if you um, if you are confident in your work and you know that what you're doing is going to make somebody else money, make sure you ask for your fair share.
Thank you for giving us your valuable time, Jenny. Your presence graced the podcast. So, the readers, the listeners, and the viewers of KMG Reads will learn many things from you. I hope you will come again to have a chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun, and I am really appreciative of your time.
Apart from my cacophonic voice, I hope you liked the conversation. I really enjoyed it. Jenny's voice is very much soothing, and while recording, I was little bit nervous. Anyways, I hope the conversation added some value to your life. You can visit www.jennilorraine.com to check her works. JENNILORRAINE.com. So you will also find her on Instagram and Facebook. So her user ID is author Jenni Lorraine. Spelling is same, JENNILORRAINE. I am coming very soon with another creators conversations. Till then, keep reading, keep smiling. Bye.